Hey, what's up everybody? Jake here and welcome to the hobby. We're back with another episode of What's Hot and What's Not. Specifically, this is the very first episode of 2026 and I'm really excited about this year's 2025 was actually a really fun year. Whether it was a good year or a bad year, I'll leave that up to you because for some collector it was a fantastic year and for other collectors they would say 2025 was a terrible year. I would personally say 2025 was a really exciting year. There was a ton of opportunity in 2025. Cards were going up, cards were going down, and if you were really good at collecting, you could have made some really smart plays. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the items that are going up in value and some of the items that are going down in value. This is just a trend video. This is not a video where I'm talking about what's actually good to buy, what's not good to buy, but you can make some inferences based on the data. So first up, we got ourselves the Celebrations Elite Trainer Box. I have this item on the hot list, and this is really supposed to represent the hype that is moving into the 30th anniversary. 2026 is the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. They've already released the 30th anniversary logo. It looks pretty similar to the 25th anniversary logo and the 20th anniversary logo. It's still just Pikachu and the numbers. They may do another spin on it. We'll see what they do with the cards, but I am excited for the 30th anniversary, and obviously Celebrations, which is our last anniversary set, is starting to pick up some serious steam. At the start of this year, you could still pick up a Celebrations Elite Trainer Box for roughly $100. It's currently going for right around $250, so a pretty solid climb year over year, which is pretty wild. I do expect this will probably climb into the 30th anniversary. But how good is Celebrations? That's going to be up to you. The other big one is the Generations Elite Trainer Box, which saw a very similar pace climb, if not a little bit better. And that's mainly because Generations is older. It's the 20th anniversary set, so it's 10 years old. So it started off a little bit more expensive. It went for $600 at the start of this year, and it's currently going for close to $2,000. So pretty expensive ETB. But again, it's 10 years old. For some more modern stuff that is also really hot, we got ourselves Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith ETBs are still incredibly hot. It's just a non-stop climb, which is really solid. The other one that is a little bit more new, but kind of following the same kind of trends as these other ETBs, is the Paldean Fates ETB. So watch out on this one. If it doesn't get restocked, a lot of people kind of consider Paldean Fates to be one of the best set of the Scarlet and Violet era, mainly just because of Bubble Mew. There's a couple of other cards inside of it, but Paldean Fates is really riding on just the back of the Bubble Mew, and in this set is just climbing at a very rapid pace. I mean, it's actually, wait, are you serious? It's actually more expensive than Crown Zenith. And this set is significantly younger in terms of age than Crown Zenith. So that's pretty wild. I would not consider this to be more expensive than Crown Zenith. So make of that what you will. We're going to move into the singles on cards that are hot. Pretty much what I would like to say is that if a card is not hot, it's probably because it's a modern card. Pretty much any card that came out in the past 2 to 3 years is pretty much not hot. For cards that are hot, it's pretty much anything that's older. However, there are some cards that I would consider modern and still quite hot, and one of them is the Team Rocket's Mewtwo. This is what I would consider a hot card right now. And even though it's not really climbing, it's still incredibly desirable. Destined Rivals is a very expensive set to collect right now, even though it's a main series set. Booster boxes are going for $400 or something absolutely ridiculous. And since the release of Destined Rivals, the Team Rocket's Mewtwo has not really seen much of a dip. It released to be right around $375. It climbed to as much as $500 to $600 during the peak hype of just Pokemon in general. Around October was right around where we saw the absolute peak of the Pokemon card market, and right now it's still floating around $400. Even though it's gone down from its high of $600, I would still consider this an incredibly hot card just because it's not really seeing much of a dip. It's staying very strong, and that is rare for a modern card because most modern card, if you look at cards like the Mega Gardevoir and the Mega Lucario from Mega Evolutions, those are consistently dipping, and pretty much most modern cards are just consistently dipping. The Team Rocket's Mewtwo, just the fact that it's able to maintain its value really well, I would consider it quite hot. And there's some other cards that I would also kind of debate whether they're hot or not, but we'll talk about those a little bit later. Another modern card that is actually quite hot is the Mew Galarian Gallery card from Crown Zenith. I was talking to Beer Dad Cards, and he was talking to me about how this is one of those cards that he cannot keep in stock. Whenever he goes to a card show, this is one of those cards that every single little girl and every single young collector wants. So it's a really, really cool card. Most collectors can understand why this Mew is incredibly desirable, and it's a consistent climber. And it follows my trend of just cards with lots of Pokemon inside of the art is just generally considered a really good value card. Having Mew is really solid, but there's a ton of other Pokemon in this art. It's really adorable. Kind of reminds me of like a Disney Sleeping Beauty kind of vibe with the card, so take that how you will. But yeah, according to Beer Dad Cards, he cannot keep this card in stock. Every single kid wants it. Moving on to the last item on the What's Hot list, we're going to talk about One Piece. The One Piece is real. We're talking about Romance Dawn, which is the first set of the One Piece TCG, which makes it One Piece's base set. And this set is a really good indicator of the whole entire One Piece market. If you're someone that's looking to collect One Piece, this is the set to be the main indicator. And you can see it's very, very expensive right now compared to where it was at the start of this year, which showcases the hype that is built around One Piece. If you'd like to know more about why One Piece is incredibly popular, I highly recommend you check out the Card Lounge podcast because we talk about it in detail. But a couple big reasons: the One Piece TCG is an extremely good card game. It's very, very fun to play. Another big reason is that One Piece is getting into like 3 years old right now, and that is a really solid starting point because any TCG that's worth its salt will, generally speaking, be around a lot longer than 3 years. And at this point, the One Piece TCG has kind of proven that it is here to stay. So if you're someone that's collecting One Piece, you know that this card game and these collectibles aren't going to die in a year or two, which is really, really important for the collector side of the market. So now people are finally saying, well, now that I know for sure One Piece is going to be around for a long time, I want a piece of it. And generally speaking, the best gauge of a new TCG is how well the original base set is doing, because that kind of showcases the whole entire market really, really well. And so I tracked the Romance Dawn booster box, and you can see from its climb, it's very clear that it went from being right around $8,000 booster box at the start of this year to being right around $5,000. So it basically quintupled in price, and that is about very consistent with the rest of the One Piece market. Most cards in the One Piece CCG, the collectible side, has increased by around 3 to 5 fold in terms of price over the past couple of months. So really solid for the One Piece market. Now we're going to move on to the more fun side of the things, I guess, which is what's not hot right now. So these are some cards that are actually going down in price. First up on our list of cards on what I would consider what's not hot right now, which is very debatable because people would say, Jake, do you really think the Umbreon EX from Prismatic Evolution is not hot? It's really debatable. This card is absolutely declining in value, and this really showcases a solid exodus of the investor bros. It is currently cheap as it's ever been. This is as cheap as the Umbreon EX has ever been, which is right around $820. Even at its lowest point during September, it was still going for right around $840. And then, you know, the investor bros really pushed it up. Even though all other Prismatic Evolution Special Illustration Rare was declining, the Umbreon EX was the only one that started climbing, and now it's reach its bottom point again. So we'll see if this trend continues, but right now, for instance, I would specifically say the Umbreon EX is not hot. And again, that's very debatable. The truth is, this is probably somewhere in between. It's neither hot nor not hot, but I'm going to put it on the not hot list for now. And we're going to keep tracking it to see if this card continues to drop. Another card that would surprise you to be on the not hot list is the Greninja EX from Twilight Masquerade. Ooh, very controversial take, but this is really interesting. A lot of people picked up this card at the start of 2025, expecting it to really climb in value. And with that expectation on this card, it did not climb. And for that reason, I would say it's not hot. This card at the start of this year was going for right around $318. There was a solid period of Pokemon hype around February. It went up to $400. It went back down to as low as $250. Then during a second wave of hype during October, September, August, it went back up to close to $400. And now it's going back down again. So if you bought this card at the start of 2025, it was going for $300, and now you basically are net neutral. And that's kind of lame for a card that had a lot of hype around it. So that's what I'll say. Is, again, very controversial, but for now I put the Greninja card on the not hot list. Another card that is absolutely not hot is the Marshadow from Mega Evolution. There was, again, a lot of hype around this card with the cameo from Pikachu. It went for as much as $80 in October, and it has plummeted back down to earth, and it's currently going for right around $13 or $12, which is really unfortunate because I actually think this card is actually maybe like a little bit underrated now. A lot of illustration rares are incredibly cheap, so we'll see how low it could possibly go, because I don't even think $13 is that expensive. This is a cool card, and $13 is not that expensive for it, but it might continue to drop because a lot of illustration rares are dropping quite hard right now. For instance, the Lycanroc card from Journey Together. This is an illustration rare that is going for $2, guys. That is really, really unfortunate. I think any illustration rare is worth more than a couple bucks, because I'd rather have most illustration rare over like a loose booster pack. These are considered serious hits, so it's kind of unfortunate how cheap some illustration rares are currently going. Again, another one, the Brute Bonnet. This card saw a massive spike in February because of the hype behind the artist for Brute Bonnet, which is Tomokazu Komiya. But the hype didn't last, and it's dropped back down to below $10. And for any of these illustration rares, below $10 is a really solid price point. I would happily pick up any of these illustration rares if you want them and they're not in your collection. Below $10 is a fantastic price point for any of these cards. Next up on our list of cards that I would say is not hot, again, debatable, we got ourselves the Charizard EX from Paldean Fates. Why would I say this card is not hot? It's certainly dropping quite a bit right now. It's probably going to maintain its spot as a very expensive card, probably the number 2 most expensive card inside of Paldean Fates for the foreseeable future. But the interesting thing is that Paldean Fates is getting more and more and more expensive to collect. It's incredibly challenging to find any Paldean Fates booster packs to rip right now. It's incredibly hard. You probably don't even want to rip open a single Paldean Fates booster pack. However, the cards inside of the set, such as this Charizard, continues to drop and drop in value. So while a set is getting more expensive and the singles are continuing to drop, that's not what you like to see. So for now, I would consider this Charizard EX a not hot card. Next up, we got ourselves the Ens Reshiram from Journey Together. The graph doesn't look that bad, but you got to understand, in October, this card was going for over $40. $40 for a free box topper inside of Journey Together booster boxes, which is an insane price. I don't know why people were paying $40 for this card. That is absurd. That's absurd, right? Come on, back me up here. $40 for the Ens Reshiram box topper inside of a Journey Together booster box is very, very expensive, and it's dipped back down to $16. So that's why I consider this card a not hot card, but we'll see where it goes. Following up the trend of cards that are not hot but are inside of sets that are continuing to get more expensive, we got ourselves the Umbreon Gold Star. This one is really interesting to me because it kind of climbed off the hype of Celebrations, because Celebrations is obviously the last anniversary set. So a lot of people picked up this card because, Celebrations is going to go up based on 25th anniversary hype due to the 30th anniversary coming out next year, something of that nature, or I guess this year because we're into 2026 now. But then it crashed back down to right around $60. So while the sets are continuing to get more expensive, such as Generations, Celebrations, Paldean Fates is getting more expensive, Crown Zenith is getting more expensive, while the sealed products is getting more and more expensive, a lot of the singles inside of these sets have taken massive dips. The Charizard EX is down, the Umbreon Gold Star is down, and these are just simple examples, but many singles are down, but sealed products is climbing. So Again, another indicator, sealed products likes to climb over time, especially for older out-of-print products. But the cards are much, much more volatile. They're much more under the control of the ebbs and flows of the hype cycle of the market. People will pick up the singles, but it's much harder to pick up the sealed products. I don't think a lot of people are going to be stacking Generations and Celebrations Elite Trainer boxes in preparation for the 30th anniversary. But that's currently how the market is currently like, because singles, especially more modern ones, are getting cheaper and cheaper just because they're still quite volatile. But if you are willing to look at older cards tend to be consistent climbers, especially if you pick solid sets. For instance, all the Tag Team GX cards are consistent climbers. They are consistently climbing. And I'll tell you right now, I don't have this Gengar and Mimikyu Tag Team GX. I don't have it inside of my collection because I don't really vibe with this art. I don't think it's particularly that good, but I don't disagree with the fact that it consistently climbs because lots of people like Gengar, lots of people like Mimikyu, and that's probably enough for this card to really consistently climb. And you can see the trend. It climbs so consistently, it's actually ridiculous that there are so many cards that are going up and down consistently all over the place. And these cards are just consistently, slowly climbing and climbing. Over the past couple of months, most people will say Pokemon cards has kind of gone downhill in terms of hype. Some people will even go and say Pokemon cards is kind of like a dead market, which is crazy. But if you look at older cards like this Gengar and Mimikyu Tag Team GX Alt Art, it just consistently climbs. Was there a period of Pokemon dip for this card? No, it just consistently climbs. And you might say, oh, that's just because it's Gengar and Mimikyu. No, it doesn't really matter. If you look at the other Tag Team GX card, the Blastoise and Piplup Tag Team GX, also consistently climbing. Certainly not to the same level as the Gengar and Mimikyu, just because this art I think is a little bit weak, but still very strong, consistent climb. Again, let's look at another one. Magikarp and Wailord Tag Team GX Alt Art. Extremely hot. That's what I'm talking about. A lot of people come to me and they DM me and say, hey, should I be investing in Bubble Mew? Should I be investing in Team Rocket's Mewtwo? Should I be investing in all these modern cards? And I say, no, none of those cards have really had the time in the oven for them to really rise yet. Sure, they're rising right now, but they're rising because of the demand. It's risen because of the demand, the hype, and those are almost forces that you can't control. We can't control the hype, If Pokemon could be cooling down in 6 months, and I have really no control over that. Pokemon could be insanely hype in the next 6 months, and again, I have no control over that. We'll just have to wait and see how good the 30th anniversary is. But a lot of cards like these Tag Team GX, they just consistently climb up. They don't care how the state of the world is. They don't care what the state of the market is. And I think these are the cards that should really be thought of as long-term collectibles, especially right now if you don't have them and you want them and they consistently climb like this. It's a no-brainer. So let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.